That's a clown question, bro.
Hi, what's up on you?
So I'm gonna kick some dirt.
He gets on base.
Just a bit outside.
I'm not the type of player that's going to be Johnny Hustle.
If you don't want me to watch the ball, you can go get it out of the ocean.
And welcome to the show to be named later, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I am your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, it's the holiday season. We are currently recording this on the winter solstice date, December 21st, but the league has not given us any news over the last 5 days.
Yeah.
Nothing, except for Howie Kendrick retired. Congratulations to Howie Kendrick on a great 15-year career. Yeah.
Yeah, a Washington legend forever.
And an Anaheim legend too.
But particularly because of his contribution to their only World Series over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Howie Kendrick will never have to buy a beverage in Washington. Maybe I don't really know how Washington is a sports town, but
oh no, they're passionate.
They're passionate.
I know that they have a reputation for having priorities other than sports, but there are people there. I've been to Washington D.C. a couple times. There are actual people there. That aren't government officials that are hiding things from us.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of, it can be scattered like around like Maryland and like Delaware and those odd spots. But anyway, congrats to Howie Kendrick on a great career. And also Tony La Russa will have to serve a day in jail. So that was our news for the week.
Despite being a Hall of Famer baseball person.
Yeah.
Not even that could bail him out.
Yeah, maybe he used that card already, got out of another thing.
Yeah, that's already his literally get out of jail free card. You know, Chris, we spend so much time talking about the Hall of Fame. What does it mean? Does it really mean anything if it's not going to get you out of jail? Because
no.
it didn't get TLR out of jail.
Nope, I don't think so. That's
yeah,
why.
All right. So I guess that's going to do it for us. There's nothing to talk about. The Hall of Fame isn't important. There's no need to advocate for anybody.
Yeah, we got a couple pages on Jeff Kent and his potential Hall of Fame case, but I don't know if it even matters.
It doesn't. No matter what, you're just never going to be able to get away with a DUI, even if you're in the Hall of Fame, whether that's as a player. Maybe it's because he was a manager. Maybe they were like, well, you weren't a good enough player. So maybe it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, this hasn't been tested. I don't think this has been tested for Hall of Fame players. So
it hasn't been reported that it's been tested. Maybe it could have been.
It could have happened, but yeah, it hasn't.
I mean, if you're in the Baseball Hall of Fame as a player, that's definitely one of your number one claims to fame. So if you need something, that might be one. I mean, Aaron Judge's girlfriend literally used, "Do you know who my boyfriend is?" So I feel like someone at some point, maybe it was Old House Radbourn, maybe it was him. He was like, his horse-drawn carriage was speeding, and he was like, "Listen, buddy, I had a 60-win season. No one else has ever done that before, and no one will do it for another 100+ years."
Yeah, maybe Fred Dunlap used that. It's like, did you know I had a 256 OPS plus in 1884?
Not even Babe Ruth did that. They're like,
Babe Ruth didn't reach that.
It's like 1904. They're like, what?
What is this? How many hits did you have that year?
In the Union Association.
In its lone year. But
that's a legendary season.
Yeah. Look it up if you haven't already.
I think we said that on last show, but yeah, we will say it every show. Look at Fred Dunlap's 1884 Union Association season.
It goes unrecognized, and it is always hilarious if you ever find yourself looking at the single season OPS plus leaderboards. It's I think
Barry Bonds, Fred Dunlap, Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds.
Yeah, it's always a nice curveball, and you got to know where it came from.
Yeah,
and that was it. He just excelled in that one league.
Mm-hmm.
He killed it. But yeah. Anyway, we are going to be, because of this development, we are actually going to be talking about Jeff Kent and his Hall of Fame case, for and against his Hall of Fame case. I think it's pretty notable because he did get over a quarter of the votes last year.
This is definitely the most like tenured guy that we've talked about so far in these bubble cases.
Yes, that is true. We haven't had anyone with more than 3 ballots thus far, I think.
Yeah.
I think Todd Helton had been
Oh, Andrew
on.
Jones is at 4.
Okay, yeah, Andrew Jones is at 4. Jeff Kent has been on 7 ballots. In his first year, he started at 15.2%, which I guess maybe would be optimistic, but it's kind of been a slow rise for him. He's at 27.5% on his latest ballot in 2020. And so far in 2021, there's actually been a drop. He only has 17.3% of the vote on released ballots so far. I believe there's 52 or something like that.
53. Another
Yes.
one recently went in.
Yeah, a little over 50 ballots out of probably 400 that will be submitted.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he's running out of time a little bit. And in all likelihood, if we had to predict, he will probably end up maxing out on ballots.
I would guess that. I mean, Larry Walker didn't start his surge until year 8, and that's what Jeff Kent is currently in. Because after year 7, it could have been very easy to infer that Larry Walker would max out on ballots, and he just barely, made it in by the skin of his teeth. Jeff Kent, it's not looking very strong, but we will go over why he should or should not be in.
Yeah. So we're taking a look at his on the surface stats, just the regular old things you find on his baseball reference page and his Fangraphs page, every stat you want to know about Jeff Kent. So he has a 55.4 baseball reference WAR and a 56.0 FWAR. The average Hall of Fame second baseman is around 69, 70 baseball reference WAR, average Hall of Fame second baseman. He also has a 35.8 peak WAR, which is your best 7 seasons of wins above replacement added up. His is 35.8. That is 8.6 below the average Hall of Fame second baseman. Also, his career quadruple slash line is 290, 356, 500, 855. And his OPS plus and weighted runs created plus are both 123. And that was all done in 9,537 career plate appearances. And in terms of count statistics, somewhat impressive stuff there. 377 home runs, 560 doubles, which are 30th all time, 1,518 RBI, 2,461 hits, and 801 walks. And in terms of defense, kind of found it notable because he is pretty much a perfectly average defender. He has 1.2 defensive runs above average and negative 0.1 D-WAR. So, and also no gold gloves for him. And yeah, he was pretty much perfectly average for his position. Mm-hmm. And he was a 4-time Silver Slugger Award winner. And he won the MVP in the year of 2000. And in the playoffs, because I know that sometimes players' resumes can be added or subtracted from the playoffs. It's kind of neutral with Jeff Kent. He hit 276 with an 840 OPS in 189 plate appearances in the postseason. So anything of note, just looking at the on the surface stuff here?
I think Jeff Kent would be a good signal as to how much defense contributes to wins above replacement, because one guy who I look to as a very similar type of player to Jeff Kent, we were talking about this before we went on, Chris, was Chase Utley. If you look at the offensive statistics, very, very similar career-wise, but Chase Utley had the defense that Jeff Kent didn't really have. He was, you said he was perfectly average. Chase Utley has I think 7 or 8 more wins above replacement on Baseball Reference. So I really do think that kind of shows the difference that defense can make.
Yeah, and you look at I think a lot of Hall of Fame second basemen do benefit from their defense. I know this is a very old name, but Charlie Gehringer is a guy. He had a 125 career OPS plus, but his B-WAR was over 80. I think he was a very good defender, and like a guy we talked about before recording, who didn't make the Hall of Fame and like has the Hall of Fame numbers though, in terms of wins above replacement, is like Lou Whitaker,
Mhm.
who had worse offensive statistics than Jeff Kent, but more wins above replacement because of his contributions on defense, and I think he had some good contributions on the bases as well. But yeah, it's that is a good point because if you're gonna have like if he had that like Gold Glove presence, maybe won a few of those awards, he would have had a stronger case. But he's lying around in the mid 50s for B WAR and F WAR, which are a little off the mark. But we will get into some comparisons in guys that compare to Jeff Kent and whether they're not or whether they are in the Hall of Fame. So his Jeff Kent's B WAR is 55.4, so kind of surrounded that for some filters. So here is a list of players with 53 to 58 baseball reference WAR in 8,500 to 10,500 plate appearances, as Jeff Kent had 9,537 plate appearances. So there's Joe Torre, who is not a Hall of Famer as a player, got in as a manager though. Willie Stargell, who's a Hall of Famer. Enos Slaughter, who's a Veterans Era Hall of Fame inductee. Billy Herman, who is also a Veterans Era Hall of Fame inductee. David Ortiz, who's a likely Hall of Famer. Stan Hack, who was a 7th ballot drop. Jose Cruz, who is a 1st ballot drop. Willie Keeler, who is a Dead Ball Era Hall of Famer. Veda Pinson, who maxed out on ballots. George Sisler, who's a Hall of Famer. Sam Rice, who's a Hall of Famer. Harry Hooper, who is a Hall of Famer. And Bert Campaneris, who was a 1st ballot drop. So kind of an interesting mix of
A
players.
diverse cast of characters for sure.
Yeah, very diverse. You have your I guess your dead ball guys, and you got David Ortiz, who's one of the biggest baseball names out there. But
Yeah, Willie Stargell.
yeah, Willie Stargell. But it does show you how much more offense is valued, even if you have a somewhat subpar wins above replacement for a player in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, that's kind of in terms of wins above replacement, that's the crew he's kind of rolling with. It's kind of mostly Hall of Famers, surprisingly enough.
It is.
Yeah, from all different kinds of eras. So now, just looking at his offense, and I really specified this because I was originally going to do players with a 120 to 125 OPS plus in the amount of plate appearances, general amount of plate appearances, but there were 20 guys on that list, so I bunched it down a little bit. So here's a list of players with a 122 to 124 OPS plus in 8,500 to 10,500 plate appearances. So there's Scott Rowland, who's on the ballot, but we're definitely gonna make the case. We're leaning more towards him because of his defense. He was like an 8-time Gold Glover or something like that. There's Tim Raines, who is a Hall of Famer. He had
10th ballot.
10th ballot Hall of Famer.
That's
Tim
correct.
Raines. And he had 808 career stolen bases. So he contributed more beyond the OPS plus. Ernie Banks, who is a Hall of Famer, member of the 500 Home Run Club. Enos Slaughter, who we went over, Veterans Era Hall of Fame inductee. Brian Downing, who was a 1st ballot drop. Ed Konechi, who didn't make the ballot. Jimmy Ryan, who didn't make the ballot. And George Van Hultren, who got 1.3% of the vote in 1936.
He was up against some tough competition though.
He was, but he didn't get called back to any Veterans Era committees. So, but that's who he's rolling with. But
I think these lists kind of confirm what I said earlier about how much defense contributes. Because you look at the names, that share his baseball reference WAR over that over that time span of plate appearances. You know, David Ortiz is obviously a big name, but we know that he didn't play defense because he was a designated hitter. Willie, other than that, Willie Stargell is probably the only like well-known name. I guess George Sisler as well, just because he's a Hall of Famer. But I mean, maybe that's just because I know him. But regardless, I think it kind of goes without saying that the names with the that share his OPS plus are much more eye-popping. Guys like Scott Rowland, guys like Tim Raines, especially guys like Ernie Banks, who's recognized. He's literally Mr. Cub. I mean, the face of one of the most prestigious franchises ever. So yeah, I mean, Jeff Kent, his offense was certainly there for a large portion of his career, especially at a not powerful position, I guess. But yeah, the defense is certainly concerning.
All right. So do you want to do the case against him or for him?
I'll do the case against him.
All right.
I haven't voted for Kent in the past. I've definitely thrown his name around. I feel like I would give him a chance if I had more options because he's always like, for me, he's always been like the 10th, like the 11th or 12th guy that I'd consider. But with that being said, a Hall of Fame career with a player with 55.4 B WAR and 56 F WAR, you know, that's kind of baseline. So it requires a solid peak. And Kent didn't really have that. He sort of just backed his way into those numbers almost like. And he only had 3 5+ win seasons according to Baseball Reference WAR, and only 2 6+ win seasons. And that's, I'm sorry, that's 5 win seasons according to F WAR. My bad. And he only had 6 4-win seasons according to F WAR, and only 5 4-win seasons according to Baseball Reference WAR. So he wasn't great for a long period of time. And he only eclipsed an OPS plus of 140 or higher 3 times and OPS plus of 130 or higher 5 times. Normally, that's like you're doing that all 7 years of your peak. He was not. He finished top 10 in position player B WAR in the league only twice. He finished top 10 in position player F WAR only twice. And he finished top 10 in OPS and OPS plus only once.
Yeah. So those are some glaring numbers. I'm going to make the case for Jeff Kent, or what the case would be for someone arguing for Jeff Kent. You could argue that he's not very far off from the average Hall of Fame second baseman, and maybe he could be a baseline Hall of Fame second baseman, which I would imagine there are worse second basemen in the Hall of Fame out there.
Definitely like dead ball guys.
Yeah, we don't really love using that argument, but that is something you could say. Also, you know, he did collect a lot of RBI, and that's because he hit 300 lifetime with runners in scoring position. Also being a guy that could hit for power as well. Kind of an all-around hitter. It's just unfortunate, I think. Didn't have like the amazing defense, but also as a second baseman, all-time leader in home runs among second basemen.
377.
377 home runs. He was close to the 400 home run club, but didn't get there. But at his position, no one was able to hit home runs like him. And if you get into the deeper stuff, there are 93 other retired players with 60+ offensive WAR, like Jeff Kent has. 93 other retired players, 75 are Hall of Famers, and some of the non-Hall of Famers include Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, Pete Rose, Manny Ramirez, Gary Sheffield, Adrian Beltre, Rafael Palmeiro, Carlos Beltran, Mark McGwire, and Shoeless Joe Jackson. All those guys are out because either they have yet to have a chance to be elected into the Hall of Fame, like Adrian Beltre or Carlos Beltran, or they have their own conflicts like PEDs for most of them. Shoeless Joe Jackson, took money to throw the World Series, and Pete Rose also bet on baseball. It was for his own team, but he's banned from baseball, so it would be weird to put him in the Hall of Fame, and he's not allowed to be on the Hall of Fame ballot as it is. And if you take all those guys out, that's 75 out of 83 players with 60+ offensive WAR who are Hall of Famers. And also there are 12 other only 12 other retired players with 350 plus home runs and 550 plus doubles. Those 12 players are Barry Bonds, Hank Aaron, Stan Musial, Carl Yastrzemski, Cal Ripken Jr., Adrian Beltre, Rafael Palmeiro, Carlos Beltran, Eddie Murray, Todd Helton, David Ortiz, and Luis Gonzalez. And I would say like only one of the guys is not, only one of them is not really does not have produce like Hall of Fame worthy statistics, and that's Luis Gonzalez. And Jeff Kent actually has more B WAR and F WAR than Luis Gonzalez. Also, there are 18 other retired players with exactly 8 seasons of 100 plus RBI. So this isn't really a minimal thing. It's guys with exactly 8 seasons with 100 plus RBI. 11 of those players are Hall of Famers, and some of the 7 that are not Hall of Famers, that includes Carlos Beltran and Gary Sheffield. Beltran has not been on the ballot. Sheffield is not being let in because of PED use. And also Jeff Kent not on any PED lists, I believe. So I don't think that's being held against him. Also, there are 41 other retired players with 350 plus home runs and 1,500 plus RBI. So 41 other retired players, 30 of them are Hall of Famers. The other 11 are Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, Sammy Sosa, Rafael Palmeiro, Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz, Gary Sheffield, Fred McGriff, Adrian Beltre, Carlos Delgado, and Carlos Beltran. Only like Delgado and McGriff were guys that were let off not because of either PEDs or, they haven't been on the ballot yet. And the last stat to compare Kent to some of the greats, 40 other retired players. There are 40 other retired players with 350 plus home runs and 2,400 plus hits. 26 of them are Hall of Famers, and the other 14 are Bonds, Rodriguez, Beltre, Palmeiro, Beltran, Ramirez, Dwight Evans, Todd Helton, Gary Sheffield, Sammy Sosa, David Ortiz, Fred McGriff, Luis Gonzalez, and Torrey Hunter, who's on the ballot. But yeah, that's kind of who he compares with. There is an argument with, him being with, some of those names and a lot of other names. But I don't know. It's hard for me to put him ahead of a lot of other guys.
Yeah.
But we definitely had to acknowledge it because he got a rise from like 10%. He got like a 10% rise like last year, I think.
Yeah, he had a big gain. A lot of people did too, but this is weird because you obviously see those names, and a lot of them are very reoccurring. Guys like Sheffield, guys like Beltran, Manny Ortiz. A lot of them were mentioned a lot of times. Luis Gonzalez, and in a lot of those statistics, Chris, it was mentioned that like there are 11 of these 17 or 18 players are Hall of Famers, and then some of the non-Hall of Famers include these people, but there was a gray area of players that weren't even arguable. And I feel like that's kind of where Jeff Kent falls. Not to say that he's not arguable, but I mean, I really don't see him at the same level as guys like Beltran and Sheffield and Delgado even.
Yeah, I think, Jeff Kent for me, he's kind of the quintessential Hall of Very Good type player. Where like if you like upped his OPS plus by like 7 for every single season of his career, it would be like, hey, this guy like
that feels like too much to ask though, because he's not at a very power premier position. I mean, I would just say like up his defense, and if we're looking at a slightly above average defensive player, like then you're probably adding on a couple wins, and then I think we're talking.
Yeah, potentially. But the defense does play a factor there.
I think he did everything he could have done on offense, especially at second base, like I've mentioned before. The defense is kind of the killer for me.
Yeah, because most, like mentioned before, most Hall of Fame second basemen have a defensive edge.
Mm-hmm.
But Yeah, where we stand on him, we're probably leaning towards no on Jeff Kent. I think he's pretty much quintessential Hall of Very Good type player. It's just he didn't really have a peak. There wasn't really a stretch of time where he there wasn't really a stretch of time where like, oh, he's like a top 5 player, because like even if you win MVP, it's like, all right, he had one good season, let's see what else he's got. We didn't really have that.
No, he did have
from
two
Jeff
7-win
Kent.
seasons, I believe, which is pretty cool. But
Yeah,
other than that, it was like those 2 very good years. And then it kind of a drop off. He did, although one thing I will say, he did win an MVP on a team that Barry Bonds was on during his peak. That
that
is
is
like, it was the year before he started his just rampage on the entire league.
yeah, that is true. And one thing I will say also is, if Jeff Kent could have like compiled, if he got to, one of those guys with like 12,000 plate appearances and, got 400 plus home runs and was around like, I don't know, 2,800 hits, and probably his wins above replacement would be around like 65 or something like that. If there might have been a case there, even though he didn't really have a crazy peak, but his career got cut short before 10,000 plate appearances.
Yeah,
So I'm not going to be trying to make a huge case for Jeff Kent.
exactly.
But yeah, that's Jeff Kent. Now we're gonna get into the Baseball Reference front page, and then that's gonna be the episode, because
There's a lot of guys. I don't know if we have the same front page right now, but there's a lot of people on my page that are worth talking about that are like pretty recent.
I'd imagine we would have the same page. Yeah, I've got Simeon,
Yep, we do.
Snell,
We do.
Tulowitzki.
So I was looking at 6 people in particular: Brandon Phillips, Carlos Carrasco, Jeff Conine, Marcus Simeon, Blake Snell, and Troy Tulowitzki. Also, George Sisler, who we talked about earlier in the episode, is there.
Oh yeah, George Sisler.
I'll let you pick.
I don't know.
I have somewhere I'm leaning if you want my influence.
Yeah, you go ahead and
All right.
pick.
I want to talk about Brandon Phillips. This
Yeah.
guy was one of the most fun players to watch in the league for a long time. Defensively, I mean, if Jeff Kent could have had his defense, that's a slam dunk Hall of Famer.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the guy won 1, 2, 3, 4 Gold Gloves
Mm-hmm.
in a somewhat short career. But yeah, big time personality, and great career with the Red Sox.
Yeah, Red Sox legend.
Yeah,
He had 3 hits with the
crazy
Red Sox.
walk-off home run, or no, not walk-off.
It was a go-ahead.
Go ahead home run.
That was the day before I started senior year of high school. Good end of the summer.
In 2013, 103 RBI. He had more RBI than OPS plus.
That is a fact.
103 RBI, 94 OPS plus.
That's is there a way to filter how many other people have done that?
What, like 100 plus RBI?
I guess exact numbers would make it easier, but I'm just saying, like, in general, like, more. We'll see. I want to see how many people have done that.
Well,
it's
like,
probably more
if you-
common than
if
I
you
would
have,
like
like-
to think.
If you have like a 160 OPS plus, you're gonna have more
Yeah.
RBI. But yeah, like, I'm gonna look at his bases occupied splits for that season.
Yeah, there you go. They were probably very good. He was an all-star that season too. That was kind of like the peak of just like his fame. Like, it wasn't necessarily statistically his best season, but that was when he was kind of a household name throughout many houses, just because he was a human highlight reel on defense. He had a lot of crazy plays, and he got some key hits.
Yeah, exactly. He hit 338 with runners in scoring position in 2013. So there you go.
All right. Brandon Phillips is one of 62 players to have a season with 100 RBI and less than 100 OPS plus. So it is a little bit more common. Only 9 people have done it multiple times.
Only 9 people have done it when?
Multiple times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One of Joe Carter did it 3 times, who had such a weird career.
Yeah, Joe Carter.
Yeah. Brandon also he had 209 stolen bases in his career. It's pretty good. He had 5 seasons with 20 stolen bases.
2,000 hits.
2,000 hits.
I had
That's
no
I mean,
idea.
he's gonna be on the Hall of Fame ballot one day. That's a fact.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think he's gonna get any like leverage. He only has 28.4 baseball reference WAR. Only 4 wins above average, which isn't great, but he'll get his own little consideration. Also 892 OPS in the postseason, only 41 plate appearances, but hey, 892 is 892. It's not bad.
Yeah, I guess he had a good series against the Phillies.
Yeah.
And
That was the series that Roy Halladay no hit them. He still had a 333 batting average that series in basically 2 games.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he got 4 hits in 2 games.
Yeah, because he definitely didn't get any the first game.
Definitely not.
No way.
A 985 OPS in the 2012 NLDS, a 5-gamer.
Mm-hmm.
7 RBI in 5 games.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. Would you look
Also,
at that?
3,000 total bases in his career. Exactly 3,100.
Nice.
MVP shares in 2 different seasons, 4 Gold Gloves, 3-time All-Star. Yeah, Brandon Phillips. By the way, this is a dude who just loves baseball. Like he still plays like in the indie leagues and stuff. There was a video that went viral a few months ago of him like hitting a home run. This would be 2020 would have been his age 39 season. Like he just won't. You cannot get him off a baseball field if you try.
You definitely could tell he enjoyed it, and like he was still playing when he could only get minor league contracts and stuff like that.
Oh, also, I'm pretty sure he was the last person in the MLB to be drafted by the Expos. Because he was drafted by the Expos in '99. It was later traded. I believe he was traded in the same deal that sent Bartolo Colon over to Montreal. I'm pretty sure he was in that deal. I think he went with Grady Sizemore to Cleveland, something like that. But then he got traded to Cincinnati because he used to play for Cleveland as well. I might be, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the deal. Something along those lines.
Last person drafted by the Expos?
The last person to be in Major League Baseball as an active player that was drafted by the Expos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he was like the last one going.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would make sense.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. People forget that happened. And he played for Cincinnati for 11 years. Had a 99 OPS plus while there, which is just about average as a hitter, but definitely above average defensively. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess my takeaway from Brandon Phillips was just like he had fun and we all had fun watching him. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the faces of like the personalities at in like baseball. One of the more fun guys.
Oh.
Yeah, he was known for like having a good Twitter and stuff like that.
Dat dude.
Yeah.
Dat dude BP. I remember in 2013, I had him on my fantasy baseball team. The first year I ever played fantasy baseball, and that team steamrolled everyone on the way to the championship.
There we go.
Yeah.
How about this trade? You got most of it, but he was traded by the Montreal Expos with Cliff Lee, Grady Sizemore, and Lee Stevens to the Cleveland Indians for Bartolo Colon and Tim Drew.
That's a tough trade for the Expos. No wonder they left town. I mean, yeah. Bartolo was pretty good for a couple of times, but I mean, all 3 of those players ended up being hits that they traded away. Or, well, 3 of the 4, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Cliff Lee was on the Hall of Fame ballot last year. He had a nice little career over there in Cleveland and Philadelphia and Texas and Seattle as well. And then BP, we've obviously mentioned, and then Grady Sizemore was awesome until he kind of just fell apart, unfortunately. But yeah, Brandon Phillips.
Yeah, Brandon Phillips.
Fun career.
a fun career, a memorable player,
Hmm.
for sure. But yeah, that leads to the conclusion of the episode. Going to be a short one this week, but
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you have long ones, sometimes you have a lot to talk about, sometimes you don't really have a lot to talk about. And we just really talked mostly about Jeff Kent and then Brandon Phillips, very second baseman
I
theme,
was gonna say this is the second base episode.
second base episode. Um, so we hope you enjoyed this short little episode. I guess you would call it an STBNL short. Um, if you are listening out on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, want to watch us talk, go to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is called STBNL with Christianta and Daniel Curran. This week I'm going to be getting up all our Hall of Fame full breakdowns, bubble case full breakdowns. If you just want to watch those, if you enjoyed our Jeff Kent breakdown, also if you want to follow us on social media, follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Curran. And follow the show Instagram at STBNL Podcast. Get notices whenever we post a new podcast. And we hope you enjoyed our little, basically, bubble case and baseball reference front page. And we hope to see you on Thursday, where we're going to be talking about Nolan Ryan, and Friday, where we're going to be talking about Saturday, where we're going to be talking about the 1998 New York Yankees. See you then.